They walked cautiously up to the strange rectangular structure, treading carefully over root and vine, being cautious of the possibility of traps. A few ancient halfling warding talismans hung from branches, but they were covered in moss and tangled as well. Nobody had been here in years. Cautiously, Miria placed her hand against the surface, feeling solid resistance beneath all of the vegetation. She pulled, she tore, and when that failed, she began to cut, carefully removing vine after vine after vine, until she finally found a surface beneath. It shone dully under the diffuse, dappled sunlight of the clearing. She ran her fingers along it.
I feel metal.
No strange or dangerous vibration seemed to come from it.
Help me out.
Slowly they began pulling, tearing, and cutting, removing vine after vine, trying to excavate the object that sat in the jungle. Not a structure, but something large that had been overgrown above and below by the kudzu. It took them nearly an hour to get most of the vines off of it. Even then, a few clung here and there. It's some kind of machine. Miria, what is it?
I wasn't expecting that.
Welcome to Swords Against Madness, an experiment in gonzo storytelling and solo roleplaying. I'm playing a solo game of Swords and Wizardry, amplified by other classic role-playing games like Traveler, and accompanied by solo role-playing tools like the Mythic Game Master emulator. First I play the game, then I turn it into a psychedelic sword and planet audio drama for your entertainment. Swords and Wizardry is based on the original 1974 through 1977 rules to Dungeons & Dragons. It is trippy, fast-paced, and lethal, just the way I like it. There will be no protection for player characters when the dice decide that their number is up. But I do keep this story PG, or at least what passed for PG in the 1980s. If you didn't see it in Temple of Doom, Goonies, or Gremlins, you won't hear about it here. So reload that three-bladed sword. Get comfortable in your studded leather kirtle or your chainmail bikini. Fire up the wizard band. It's time to get weird.
It's an old Earth vehicle.
Earth as in the elemental force?
No, not exactly. Earth was also the name of the first world from whence humans came, thousands of years ago. Once human beings figured out how to travel faster than light, we spread ourselves across the cosmos. We found hundreds of thousands of worlds we could occupy and built colonies on them all. All humans, and all halflings, even elves, we all started on a single world, about 20,000 light years from here. This is called a van. It's a sort of ground conveyance. It's meant for carrying many people and their supplies for long journeys.
The art on it is very strange. Miria stood back and assessed the vehicle again. A great metal box, about 17 feet long, sitting on 4 wheels wrapped in a strange textured rubber. While the vines had stripped off some of the paint, most of it was untouched. The vehicle was a glossy blue and purple, with an image in soft focus on the side of a great robed sorcerer wielding balls of flame in his hands, his staff upraised, facing a dragon against a backdrop of swirling stars. There was a similar image on the other side, a great tower rising from the sea with the moon rising behind it. A sensuously posed woman in exotic clothes sitting on the shoreline, her hair reaching out as if trying to wrap around the tower. another sorcerer standing high at the peak of it, conjuring stars from his staff. Wiping away some of the dirt on one of the large windows on the side, they could see it was upholstered, albeit worn down, with a strange assortment of bric-a-brac inside, padded couches lining the walls. Cautiously, Miria took the handle of the door nearest the controls and pulled it open. There was still a faint smell of patchouli hanging in the air around it. She sat down in the seat. It was dusty, but not as much so as she expected. She took note of her environment. Strange crystalline matrices had been embedded in the walls. There were runes carved on the steering wheel, and several amulets welded onto the dashboard. Seeing a compartment on the chair opposite hers, she reached over and pulled it open. There were several tools, crumpled bags of an unusual material, a magazine with an artfully posed woman in very little clothing on the cover, and a book. She picked it up and riffled through the pages.
Can you read that? Without magic? It's in an ancient dialect, one of the major bases for Gal Standard. I should be able to translate it. Let's see. Ford Motor Company. Econoline. This might take longer than I thought. You'd better get comfortable, everybody.
After a little trial and error, Edryk managed to open the sliding door to the back. They climbed in and sat down on the dusty benches, examining the odd devices that lay about the place. Kale set down the bulky wet bag containing the squid, who pushed his arms up through the gap in the bag, sliding it open enough for him to reach a few of his limbs out and peer, slopping water onto the floor.
Freedom at last! I thought you guys would keep me in there forever.
Sharing the curiosity of Kale and Edryk, its long feeder tentacles reached out and began probing around until its suckers grabbed hold of a comic book and drew it closer.
Hello, what's this? Look at this. A book of pictures of people doing things and not so many words. It looks like the Chronicles of a Great Hero.
Curiously, Kale picked up one of the comics for himself. Look, there's been something inscribed here that isn't part of the original book. Property of Tom Foreman.
Wait, did you say Foreman?
It's followed by a bunch of letters and codes that make no sense to me. But yes, right here, that part I can read.
Wait a minute, I know I've heard that name before. Does it mean something to you, Edryk?
Tom Foreman was a wanderer, an adventurer who came to our island in my grandfather's days. He came with the knowledge of alchemy and sorcery, the like of which our people had never seen, and became something of a fixture in our village. After he had taught his magic to the Order of the Stars, and they had taught him theirs, he chose to wander around our world, learning all sorts of other magics. It's said that he wandered the plains, traveled to the moon, explored deep undersea, all in his magical vessel. I had honestly believed him to be a children's story, meant to entertain because they were so outlandish, except that my grandmother swears she knew him when she was a child. He vanished around 62 years ago. Could this really be the mysterious blue box that he traveled through time, space, water, and the plains in? I'm not from Nara originally, but even I've heard the stories, Miria. He's quite a legend, although looking around at all these strange objects and children's stories, it feels more like the dwelling of a young bachelor, or a messy vagabond, than a legendary wizard.
In my experience, legendary heroes are usually both those things. Now, let me see if I can't figure out how to make this thing move.
Welcome to Wonkatunkwa County.
I'm Jeb Sorza, and I'm here as your official greeter. The year's 1868, in case you lost count. And please, don't be alarmed if you do. Most folks would step off the number 9, missing a year or so of their memory. That's perfectly normal. You might as well get comfortable, though, 'cause there ain't no way home. Normally, Sheriff Quimby and Marshal Daigle be down here to greet you, but I'm afraid they got their hands full. So I sure hope some of you the enterprising types. We could use someone who's handy with a gun, dynamite, or a good old-fashioned cavalry sword. There are monsters what need killing, demons what need banishing, and bandits that you're gonna have to shoot at least twice. Because if you haven't guessed by looking at me, the dead sometimes get up and walk around anyway around these parts. And if you're the troublemaking types, it helps to remember that Sheriff Quimby can afford to shoot first and ask questions later. Undeadwood is a Weird West role-playing game from Death Trap Games. Visit the otherworldly plane called Wonkatonkwa County, a place where the dead walk. The devil will cut you a deal at the crossroads, and monsters from American folklore wander the desert. Played using a fast, furious rule set that uses just 2 six-sided dice. Available now on Drive-Thru RPG. Miria set down the manual with a sigh. She had read it twice, 3 times. Discovered another document under the seat called the Driver's Handbook of California. It had made practically no sense at all. She had remembered a few ancient videos she had stored away in the depths of the file system of her gauntlet, and watched a few examples of sensationalized and exciting driving, though she doubted very much that anyone in real life drove like the ancient super spy Jason Bourne. Nonetheless, she was pretty sure she understood how to operate the machine. At least the simple mechanical parts of it. She then turned her attention to the runes on the steering wheel, the strange magical deposits, the amulets and pentacles embedded on it, the mysterious magical glyphs painted on the inside ceiling of the vehicle. Finally, still feeling bewildered, she addressed the all-knowing.
Okay, so this is capable of jumping across the plains?
Yes.
A 1974 Ford Econoline?
Yes.
How?
The device is powered by quantum fluctuations, fed directly into a crystalline computational matrix.
So I power it by spells?
Yes.
Okay, where do I cast them?
Into the Flux Capacitor.
Miria cast her eyes about, trying to figure out what he was speaking of.
The what now?
The little glowy thing next to the moonroof.
And how do I steer the plane shift?
Psionic interface. Your thoughts must be harmonized on the crystal embedded in the dash, with a clear visualization of where you are going. You also must shift to the 9th position on the gearbox.
That sounds like it might be easier said than done.
For you, perhaps, at first. That is why we brought the squid.
Hey, where can we get more of these comic books?
You are confident he can do it?
I am certain.
Miria gave an affirmative nod, and put her hands on the steering wheel thoughtfully. She then turned back and looked at Kale and Edryk, who were staring in wonder at the lava lamp they had discovered and activated, watching its strange wisps of paint swirl in the oil.
Okay, I'm pretty sure I can direct this thing. Kale, could you please fix the squid's bag to the front seat here? Normally, these vehicles have some kind of straps to hold you into the seat. It looks like Foreman removed the regular seats in favor of those comfortable couches. I recommend getting comfortable and holding on.
They briefly poured out the squid's water and replaced it with fresh salt water from the Arakeen bottle. Then, after tossing a few shrimp into the bag with him, They made sure it was secured to the safety belt in the passenger's seat. She reached up, closed her eyes, and pressed her hand against the crystalline object hanging just in front of the moonroof, and intoned her sleep spell. Runes and sigils all over the van flared to life, casting it all in a strange pinkish glow. The driver's wheel beneath her hands began to thrum. She gingerly reached out to the keys that were still hanging in the ignition and turned them. She thumbed an ancient rune that meant ascend, and slowly the vehicle lifted off the ground.
When I say go, Edryk, I want you to cast a spell into the crystalline matrix above my head.
Compared to the dropship, the van's movements were smooth and easy, and far more responsive than any ship Miria had ever used before. They lifted up over the tops of the jungle trees and began to surge forward, the spinning wheels occasionally clipping the top of mangroves and banyan trees. As she began to figure out how the controls for flight worked, a huge smile crept across Miria's face. There was no joy quite like flight. She accelerated for the pure joy of putting on speed.
Kale, the agreement was you were going to stay with us until we found the apparatus. Well, here's the apparatus. Am I dropping you off at the village, or are you going to stay with us a bit longer?
What kind of question is that after I've seen this? Of course I want to stay with you. I need to see where this is going.
All right then, let's lay in a course. Squid, it's time to do your thing.
Okay, where are we going?
I am visualizing a location in the courts of chaos. Connect to my mind and find a route.
Okay, yep. Got it!
Edryk, cast the spell. Squid, keep your mind on the road. I'll drive.
Miria could feel a hum of psychic connection between herself, the all-knowing, and the squid. She could almost see it like a thread stretching out in front of her, a line between the squid and the quickest way to the courts of chaos. Edryk, with his eyes screwed shut, intoned his spell while keeping his finger on the Flux Capacitor. There was another pink flare as the rest of the sigils marking the van exploded into life. The van surged forward suddenly, hard, and there was a bright flash. A sound like an explosion. And then suddenly they found themselves careening down a tunnel of rainbow light, shifting and scintillating all around them. Although there was no substance they could see, it felt as though the wheels of the van were rolling along the ground. Experimentally, Miria nudged the wheel and found the vehicle swerving. She focused in on the line between herself and the squid and corrected their course again immediately.
Please, quit messing around. Sorry, Edryk. Just had to check.
And then the tunnel of color came to an end. There was a sickening lurch, another explosion, and they suddenly found themselves drifting, tumbling over in a starry sky, the universe seemingly spinning around them endlessly. All of them felt their stomachs lurch and their heads spin for a moment as they tried to get used to this new weightless sensation. Miria panicked for a minute, given the flimsy protection between herself and the void of space. She reached for the window crank, hoping to tighten it somehow, anyhow, and then realized there was no need. This wasn't space, at least not as she knew it.
Where are we?
This is a moment I've been waiting well over a year to share with you all, and the perfect moment to say goodbye to 2025 at the same time. I hope you'll indulge me in using one of my Suno-generated songs, Fire Up the Wizard Van. I created it specifically for this moment, using an older version of Suno just weeks before the allegations came out that they had been training their music unethically, and that the claims they had made when I signed up, of public domain trained audio, might not have been entirely the case. Swords Against Madness has otherwise been AI-free for quite a few episodes now, and I would love to know what you think about that. Please reach out to me on X, @SwordsVMadness, and let me know, do you miss the old music? I'm certainly not going to generate more, at least not until I can get my hands on an AI I know has been ethically sourced, and preferably one light enough that I can run it on my own PC. I consider myself incredibly lucky to have people like John Cohen helping me with the music, and a huge library I'm slowly building up from Pixabay and the Free Music Archive. That aside, let me tell you about the Wizard Van. When I was playing way back in the spring, the idea of a magical device that would allow Miria to shift the planes, thus carry the all-knowing home being somewhere on the island, arose pretty organically through the Mythic Game Master emulator. I'd asked it what the all-knowing wanted, and when I realized that it was trying to go home, I asked it if there was means on the island to do it. And a series of answers to questions led to the idea that there was a planar vehicle buried somewhere in the north end of the island. I couldn't get Mythic to give me useful details on the vehicle on its own, so I decided to just let my imagination roam. I didn't have long to wait, because I was talking to my kids about possibly running a role-playing game for them over the holidays, as they get a rare chance to spend some time with their uncle, who's also a big role player. When I started talking system with my oldest, only 2 options jumped out at him. Tiny Dungeon, a family favorite, super lightweight fantasy role-playing system from Alan Barr, or Dungeon Crawl Classics. DCC is possibly the most gonzo version of Dungeons & Dragons you could possibly ask for. Clerics have disputes with their petty gods. Fighters regularly hack off limbs, send weapons flying, or pull dirty tricks on their opponents. Thieves have unbelievable luck, as long as they pay tribute to the right entities. And spells gone wrong twist wizards into bizarre abominations. Of all the OSR games out there, Swords and Wizardry and Dungeon Crawl Classics are tied for my 2 favorite. DCC also has one of the most pleasurable manuals to look at, with art contributions from many of the greats that helped design D&D's art style back in the 1970s and 80s. Jeff D., Jeff Easley, Jim Holloway, Errol Otis, Stephen Pogue, Jim Rosloff, Doug Kovacs, and a whole lot of other truly amazing fantasy artists fill the DCC core book with more amazing fantasy art than you could possibly enjoy in a single day. As I was browsing my hard copy of DCC, I once again fell on one of my favorite images in all of the books, one that Goodman Games themselves has made iconic to the series. It's a picture of an old 1970s van drifting through space, covered in bumper stickers, magical runes, and funky graphics. A party with many of DCC's iconic characters is riding in the van across the vast cosmos of space. There are astronauts in Apollo mission capsules, alien gods, a being that looks like legally distinct Galactus, demons and orcs surrounding them as they fly past a planet with 2 moons. All done in Stephen Pogue's signature brightly colored graphic novel style. When I was first conceptualizing this series over a year ago, I actually spent a lot of time debating whether to play Swords and Wizardry or DCC. And that image, combined with the fact that at the time, the Glitter Wizard song Wizard Wagon was my jam, both inspired me to work the phrase "fire up the wizard van" into the intro. So why not just go through with it and give them a wizard van? A big 1970s van, kitted out for hippie living in the back, with classic airbrushed designs on the side that could fly through, if not space, the Astral Plane and beyond. If the wizard van should ever come under attack, I will use the rules for minivans that can be found in other white box clones that add in modern Earth elements, like Iron Falcon, to give me the details I need. But as a magic item, here's my ideas. The van uses spells instead of gasoline for fuel. You cast the spells onto the device, and provide it with power enough for 2 hours of operation per level of the spell. So a first level spell will get you 2 hours of movement. You can also sacrifice 2 hours of movement to shift to the Astral Plane. It cannot shift to other planes on its own. Instead, it can dive into the color pools of the Astral Plane, which open into other planes of existence, and from there it can navigate to other portals, magic doorways, arcane gates, that sort of thing. Theoretically, if you just want to get anywhere on any plane, you can just go to the Astral Plane and look for the right color portal. If you want to get somewhere specific, however, you might have to shift to the Astral Plane, reach a totally disconnected plane, and then pass through multiple portals to get to the closest drivable location to your final destination. I'm borrowing some rules from Dungeons & Dragons 3rd edition, where I ran a lot of campaigns in the Outer Planes. Any portal will land you 2d100 miles from your next destination. I've also given the van limited flight capabilities, but those come at a significant cost. If you're going to Harry Potter around, you're going to double your fuel consumption. And it flies at the same speed that it would move on a highway, and it has a ceiling of no more than 50 feet above the ground. All told, my party could theoretically drive the thing for 24 hours, but flight time is limited, and the squid's natural powers don't count. Besides, he's busy navigating. When I need any other rules for planar adventuring, I will go to these books in order: the Swords and Wizardry Core Book, the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Dungeon Master's Guide, the Dungeons & Dragons 3rd Edition Dungeon Master's Guide, and Dungeon Crawl Classics. If I can't find a rule in one of those, I will just wing it. Any planar journey to a specific point, I'm going to roll 1d4 plus 1 for the number of plane shifts required, with the plus 1 counting for the jump to the Astral Plane. Otherwise, I've stocked the van with a fair amount of hippie fare: a lava lamp, some comic books, some snacks, and an 8-track player with some rockin' 70s music. You know, the absolute essentials. It took them a minute to get oriented again as they drifted in this weightless place. That way is down, that way is down. While he was murmuring, desperate to just try and get control of himself, Edryk discovered that by focusing on which way he wanted to be down, he could drift to the floor of the van without difficulty. That's it, tell yourself that way is down. Then we will stop floating around this place. Kale and Miria joined in the chant. Miria felt the strangling seatbelt relax, and Kale drifted gently down to one of the couches. The rest of the reality within the van seemed to conform to their will. Slowly the lava lamp, the comic books, the snack bags, all drifted back down to the dusty floor of the van. The only one who chose not to conform was the squid, who drifted out of his bag with a shell of water floating about himself. He darted around the interior of the van over their heads several times before settling in the passenger's seat, free of the bag of water. Once Miria no longer had to fight to keep herself in the seat, she reached out and touched the steering wheel again, working the various runes with her fingertips until the van stopped spinning, and the various splotches of color, the nebulae, the planetoids held still.
We are now on the Astral Plane, a place of pure mind that connects all other planes.
This breaks every rule of warp theory. This is the kind of magic I wanted to learn as a little girl. A reality where thoughts can shape things. How did we fall so far?
I don't know, but once we've completed our task, we have a lot of possibilities open to us, don't we? We could explore anywhere, do almost anything. The thought bounced around in Miria's head for a moment, and a wicked smile pressed on her face.
Oh, I know exactly what we're going to do once we've fulfilled our deal with the All-Knowing. But for now, next stop, the Courts of Chaos.
And we're going that way!
Swords Against Madness is played, written, and performed by Brian C. Rideout. Editing, mastering, and audio production were from Stormhead Productions. All sound effects are licensed from Pixabay. This episode featured the vocal talents of John Cohen from Tale of the Manticore as the All-Knowing, and Owen Rideout from The Boy in the Submarine as the Psy Squid. The opening theme was King Edward by Mr. Smith, a Creative Commons by attribution song released through the Free Music Archive. It also includes the song Fire Up the Wizard Van, which I created using the Suno AI app, and have been holding on to for the moment Miria gets off the planet for a very long time. Other songs on this episode including Night Detective, Deep Forest, New Sun, Redbone, Outlaw's Reckoning, Psychedelic Atmosphere Dream Guitar, Stylish Blues Rock, and Acid Core are all courtesy of Pixabay. As of the recording of this episode, I am right before the holidays of 2025, and I want to wish you all a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Merry Kwanzaa, or a joyous Yule, and give you my best wishes for 2026. I'm looking forward to continuing to tell you this story in the new year. I also want to read this amazing review from Carl White over at The Lone Adventurer. There's nothing quite like SAM. Looking for an old-school solo actual play D&D podcast drenched in acid-fueled metal vibes? If you're not, what on earth are you doing with your life? Seriously, re-examine your life choices. Then listen to this. Thanks so much, Carl. I really appreciate that. I also love hearing from you all. Don't be a stranger. Feel free to contact me on X at SwordsVMadness or swordsvmadness@stormheadproductions.ca if you want to email me. You can also find me on the Stormhead Productions channel on YouTube. If you want to support the show, please rate, review, like, and share with your friends. Or if you want to see just how weird I can get, check out my imprint, Death Trap Games. I have different games on DriveThruRPG and itch.io. I just released Undeadwood Weird West role-playing game, which is, to my mind, one of my best creations ever. And you can look forward to some bonus episodes in the near future, where I play Undeadwood Weird West RPG for you here on Swords Against Madness. And as always, play hard, roll high, and think weird.
Hi, it's me, Owen. Starting in January, I'll be releasing new episodes of Born in Submarine, the podcast about marine biology for kids by a kid. Come join me in season 3 of my underwater adventures, anywhere you get your podcasts.